Thanks for tuning into the Conscious Hour. This is an update, and the Western media, of course, isn't playing this at all. This is Pepe Escobar. Listen closely. We're right on the brink of Judgment Day. As Pete Hegseth would say, Armageddon. Now, Pete Hegseth was there in the White House with his religious entourage saying that it's divine intervention, Armageddon. This is the problem we have, but listen closely because you will not see this in the U.S. media.
In the history of Star Wars in a little over 2 months. Who could possibly imagine this only a few months ago? And that's exactly where we are now. So it's no wonder psychologically for them, they simply cannot, they don't even understand what happened and how could it happen. And now it's practically irreversible because the Strait of Hormuz from now on is an Iranian choke point, period. And even worse, this is a defeat of the petrodollar. This was a war also for controlling a key oil checkpoint and imposing the petrodollar, because the regime change in Iran immediately after that will be back to the petrodollar. So they lost on all fronts. They lost geopolitically, militarily, and geoeconomically. It's too much for them to bear. Now, it's off the charts in terms of the trauma.
Pepe Escobar, the legendary Brazilian geopolitical analyst known for his unflinching takes on the empire's overreach, has dropped a bombshell that the corporate media is either downplaying or outright ignoring. According to reports,
so let that one sink in and then check out what they aren't telling you in the U.S. media.
Reports circulating in alternative and international media, the latest wave of Iranian strikes has obliterated one of the major troop shelters in Kuwait, with staggering preliminary figures suggesting that at least 200 American soldiers have been killed and as many as 15 others are critically injured, fighting for their lives in military hospitals across the region. While Western outlets and the Pentagon are desperate to spin this as a minor skirmish, the reality on the ground tells a completely different story. Videos have emerged from the scene, grainy, chaotic, but undeniable, showing Iranian Shahed 136 loitering munitions diving with terrifying precision into the heart of the American logistical hub. The footage shows interceptors firing desperately into the night sky, but doing little to stop the swarm of incoming drones and missiles. It was a devastating, coordinated assault that has sent shockwaves through the U.S. military command. And according to Pepe, this is not just a battle. This is the beginning of the worst chapter for the American military presence in the Middle East. Now, before I go any deeper into this
Now remember, you weren't seeing this in the Western media. Check out more of what's happening that they don't want to talk about. The U.S. is being wiped out of the region, and it's just started. And this was actually taken about 6 hours ago. So do you think they've stopped Iran? No, they're done. No more negotiations. The U.S. has shown who they are. They're shapeshifters. They'll lie to you. They don't care. And look what's happening. Just think of our men and women in the military being slaughtered because of gangster capitalism.
Isn't just a choice, it's a duty. Now let's get back to the story that the Pentagon is desperately trying to suppress. The Iranian military strikes were not random acts of violence. They were surgical, calculated, and devastatingly effective. The primary targets were not just any military installations. They were the logistical arteries that keep the American war machine pumping. Reports confirm that the Iranian drones struck facilities belonging to Halliburton, the American oil services and logistics giant that holds billions of dollars in U.S. government contracts. Halliburton.
So let's do a little point about Halliburton. Remember Iraq War? Remember Dick Cheney? Yeah, Halliburton. Yep, that's why I called it gangster capitalism. I called it gangster capitalism back in those days, but boy, it's gangster capitalism on steroids now. They want to control everything, the U.S. and Israel.
Is the lifeblood of the U.S. military's supply chain in the region. And by hitting them, Iran sent a clear message. We can sever the head of your operations whenever we choose. But Halliburton wasn't the only target. The Kuwait and Gulf Link Transport Company, better known as KGL, which holds hundreds of millions of dollars in U.S. military contracts, is also located in the same compound. This company is responsible for heavy lift transportation and distribution of food and supplies to American military bases across the Persian Gulf and the wider Middle East. By destroying these logistics hubs, Iran has effectively paralyzed the American ability to sustain its occupation forces in the region. The sheer scale of this operation is breathtaking. NASA's FIRMS, the Fire Information for Resource Management System, which uses satellite imagery to detect thermal anomalies and active fires, confirmed a massive blaze in the industrial town of Al-Shuaiba in Kuwait. And let's talk about the so-called fatigue on the side of Yemen. The Yemeni army, which has entered the war on the side of the Iranians, has struck Saudi oil platforms and airports as a deterrence against the strikes on Sana'a civilian airport. But critics say they struck Saudi once and then did nothing, claiming that this shows they are tired and want diplomacy. What these critics fail to understand is that Yemen is playing a different game. The Yemeni army has published a target bank of vital sites in the Saudi depth, including King Khalid International in Riyadh, King Abdulaziz International in Jeddah, King Fahad International in Dammam, and key ports like Jizan, Jeddah, and Ras Tanura oil port. This is not a sign of weakness, this is a strategic warning. By publishing these coordinates, the Yemeni army is saying, we know exactly where to hit you, and we can do it at any time. The fact that they have not yet unleashed their full arsenal is not fatigue, it is restraint. It is a message to the Saudis that the next strike will not be a warning, it will be a crippling blow.
Imperative for Trump. He hates to be humiliated. And he's being humiliated by the strategic defeat, which is the result of the war that he ordered. So can you imagine in the mind of basically a grown-up 4-year-old, how does that feel? And you can see in his inconsistencies, in the the fits of the childish fits of rage. As you mentioned, no consistency whatsoever. Anything he writes, says, etc. Bragging, and of course, rage. You can feel there's so much rage behind it. He has threatened to exterminate Iranian civilization at least 4 or 5 times these past few weeks. Seriously, exterminate everything, literally, And where is this leading? And everybody that has been trying, and everybody, I mean literally everybody, not only the Pakistani mediators, but the Qataris, the Turks, the Egyptians, everybody, the Omanis, everybody who's been trying to, okay, we cannot allow the MOU to be derailed. This is the last chance saloon. If this thing is derailed, then it's all-out war. And here we are again in another escalation ladder provoked by him.
And it's going to keep continuing because there's no way that Trump is going to back off the throttle. It's too late because what they're doing now is they're taking out all the strategic targets of the U.S., which is great. Getting rid of their bases, any supply chain, and then they're going in after the other Arab countries that are basically supporting the U.S., and they're taking out their airports, and they'll be taking out their fuel, and eventually they might go to the next step, which is they take out all of their hydropower, their basic electricity. They shut them all down. And you imagine living out there, 104, 108 degrees and 100% humidity? You're talking about a death zone. But, hey, it's gangster capitalism, folks. They got their foot on the throttle, and the sad part is they're putting our men and women who are in the military in harm's way for, I'm sorry, but a bunch of sociopaths that think that they control the world. This is the Conscious Hour, folks. Hit the like and share button. And remember one thing, we the people can take control of our government if we speak out, tell the truth, and tell them to shut it down now. But we might be too late. This was 7 hours ago. I'll give you an update soon. I'm going to put up the latest I can find tonight and do one more broadcast. Please tune in to the Conscious Hour. Please hit the like and share button. And please donate to the 501c3. Thanks for tuning in. This is part 2 of today's update.